So it has been about 24 hours since the Cleveland Indians traded Francisco Lindor to the New York Mets in exchange for Josh Wolf, Isaiah Green, Andres Gimenez, and Ahmed Rosario. I can't believe I remembered that off the top of my head. But what we're gonna do today is we're gonna grade both the Indians trade as well as the Mets trade and see who came out on top. It's pretty evident who won that trade. But going into the future, maybe one team has the advantage over the other. But before we do that, I quickly wanna say rest in peace to one of the greatest icons in Major League Baseball history, Tommy Lasorda. I thought that he was all right. He was released from the hospital, but unfortunately, he passed away today at 93 years old. Again, one of the most coveted legends in baseball history, and to me, it doesn't feel like it's a brand new year. Like, I don't think today is actually January 8th, 2021. It's gotta be December 39th, 2020. Because 2020 sucked, and 2021, between the politics and people passing away, and me as an Indians fan, it's not been good so far. But yeah, I just wanted to send my condolences to all of the Dodgers fans because I know Lasorda really meant a lot to that franchise. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the meat and potatoes of today's video, grading the Indians side of the trade as well as the Mets. We'll start off with the Indians because there was a crazy stat that I found. So in 2021, Mike Trout is going to be making roughly $37 million. The entire 21 Indians franchise as a whole, in terms of the players, will be collectively making $37 million. So it's like Mike Trout is going to be making just as much as the entire Indians franchise, which is crazy to say. Now, there is a little bit of context that I have to add because the players are making about $37 million, right? Collectively between Jose Ramirez, Shane Bieber, Zach Plesac, down to the rookies that are involved. The Indians have a $47 million TV deal in place, so they're all about that profit. So they're paying their players less than what they're making in TV deal money. So the Indians already, without playing a single game, have a profit going into the season. And hopefully fans are allowed in because I am going to plead with the city of Cleveland to please go to every single game. The reason why we can't afford Francisco Lindor is because, unfortunately, being in a small market, you can't afford to pay Manny Ramirez, Cliff Lee, CC Sabathia. We have Francisco Lindor now added to the list, as well as the other players that we've had to trade with Corey Kluber, Mike Clevenger, Trevor Bauer. I mean, any superstar that comes through Cleveland, we are pretty much a farm system for the rest of Major League Baseball, so please go to every single game that you can afford to go to. Now, Mets fans have been in my DMs the last 24 hours saying that Andres Gimenez is going to be a stud, and after looking at some of his highlights, he looks amazing on the defensive side, and he looks like he can be about 80% of what Francisco Lindor was in his prime as an offensive shortstop. So that's probably going to be about 15 to 20 home runs, maybe 10 to 15 stolen bases. I would say a 750 to 800 OPS. Gimenez looks like he's going to be the real deal. And then also, I was watching Giraffe Nick Mark, and he said that Isaiah Green, he feels like Isaiah Green is the one player that could come back to haunt the Mets franchise because he has unlimited potential. A lot of people have been comparing him to Garrett Anderson, who is not a Hall of Famer by any means, but when he was in his prime, he was a very solid outfielder for the Angels. I think they were the Anaheim Angels at the time. But for me, the reason why the Indians get a C for this trade is because they waited way too long. So the best comparison that I can make is the Indians pretty much chose not to study for an exam and still expected to get an A. We've all done that before. When you don't study, you're gonna get a C, you're gonna get a D. I mean, most oftentimes you're going to fail. Now, luckily, they got back some prospects in return. Honestly, ignorant baseball fans don't know how truly good Andres Gimenez is, so I'm not going to fault you guys for that. But the Indians still have Jose Ramirez, Shane Bieber, along with Terry Francona, who ever since he joined the Indians staff as the manager, he has the most wins in the American League. More than the Yankees, more than the Red Sox, more than any other AL team that you can mention. The Indians have the most wins, so they know how to be scrappy. They know how to save money, but unfortunately, like I mentioned, they waited way too long. They missed out on Corey Seager, the World Series MVP. They missed out on Gavin Lux. So if we're talking about the Indians being fleeced, in my opinion, they were backed into a corner because they chose to wait. They thought maybe they could pull out a magical season. Unfortunately, they were too cheap with the offense, and they ended up being swept by the Yankees. So the Indians get a C grade from me. They're the same student that thought they could not study for an exam and expect to get an A. It's never going to work out that that way, but at least it's not an F trade. I do honestly believe that, and I'm not lying when I say this, I'm not being a fanboy or I'm not trying to look for positive things. Andres Gimenez and Ahmed Rosario combined can maybe equate to one Francisco Lindor, but for half the price. So that's something that the Indians were looking forward to. And also, Carlos Carrasco was going to make $13 million, so they got that off the books as well. So the Indians get a C from me. Again, it's very sad that, I was watching highlights from Lindor last night, almost shed a tear. I actually did shed a tear this morning when a montage came out of Lindor just being smiley and energetic and whatever. Mets fans are going to enjoy him so much. But let's talk about what the New York Mets will be receiving grade-wise. So this stat honestly made my jaw drop. The last 3 seasons, Mets shortstops have hit 31 home runs and combined for a 702 OPS. That 702 OPS is 26th in baseball the last 3 seasons when you factor in every single shortstop on a team-by-team basis. So they were one of the worst teams production-wise for shortstops. Francisco Lindor comparatively has 78 home runs and an 845 combined OPS over the last 3 seasons, and that's not even factoring in he has a whole lot more stolen bases. He plays better defense than any Met shortstop since Jose Reyes. So they definitely are getting an upgrade both defensively and offensively with Francisco Lindor. The only downside, the only reason why the Mets are not getting an A+ for this trade, because they get an A from me, is because the Mets lore. What are the Mets known for the last couple seasons? Bad things happening. So maybe this is a placebo, maybe this is a sign that I have PTSD as a baseball fan, just being interested in the Mets franchise. Something always seems to go wrong, and I don't know why. So if Francisco Lindor, God forbid, hopefully the baseball gods hear me now, if Francisco Lindor gets hurt, which I'm hoping and praying does not happen, what's their backup plan? What is it? It's not Ahmed Rosario. Who would they play at shortstop? Maybe they have a prospect that you guys can let me know of, but at this moment in time, I'm not sure who the backup plan would be. So again, they get an A because Lindor is only making $20 million. When you're a top 7 player in baseball, only making $20 million, that is a steal. Yes, he's a free agent, but they shipped away their shortstop prospects. They are going to resign him. So if you're a Mets fan, do not fret. He is going to be your all-star starting shortstop for the next decade. I'll probably have a kid before Francisco Lindor is not a member of the Mets. And then also Carlos Carrasco for the next 2 years is topping out at around $13 million a pop. And then he's a free agent. He'll be 35 years old. He'll probably move on, maybe retire. I'm not too sure. But the Mets get an A from me. And the only reason why they don't have an A+ is because I'm not sure who the backup plan is, because just like Grady Sizemore, I'm going to bring up this example. He's my favorite player of all time. There was a stretch where Grady Sizemore only missed, I think, 4 games in the span of 4 years, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one single knee injury turned into another knee injury, then a back injury. So I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Francisco Lindor, but that's just my opinion. The Mets get an A from me. I think I just got a notification that the Mets signed Brandon Drury. He's a third baseman, maybe can play shortstop. That could be a backup plan. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you make of all of the different stats that we talked about today? The fact that the 2021 Indians are only being paid $37 million, which is the same amount as one player on the Angels, Mike Trout. Also, they were a year late. They could have traded for Corey Seager or Gavin Lux or Dustin May or Tony Gonsolin. They missed out on all of those guys, but they still have J. Ram and Bieber and Nolan Jones and Tyler Freeman. So they have the making to be a good team going forward when they add young players like Rosario and Josh Wolf and Isaiah Green and Andres Gimenez. But on the flip side, the Mets got a cheap superstar in Francisco Lindor, a star pitcher in my opinion with Carlos Carrasco, and honestly, when you factor in the fact that the Mets are the 26th worst team in baseball in regards to shortstop production, they without a doubt get an A. Just the A+ would have been added if they possibly got a shortstop prospect or if they signed another shortstop in the next couple days. So if that happens, just know that I would bump it up to an A+. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you stay safe out there. Again, rest in peace to a legend, Tommy Lasorda. My heart goes out to all you Dodgers fans. Stay safe out there, and peace out.